I don't touch worthless staff. The words, dripping with disdain, cut through the hushed elegance of the gallery like a shattered crystal vase. Elias Thorne, a man whose tailored suit probably cost more than some people's annual salaries, stood imperiously, his gaze sweeping over the assembled crowd with a predatory air. His eyes, however, stopped at Sarah, a young black woman in a simple yet impeccably clean attendant's uniform, as she reached for a stray piece of lint on a pedestal. She froze, her hand hovering, a testament to her professional training, which Thorne clearly saw as an invitation to belittle. The air crackled with unspoken tension. Several phones discreetly lifted around the room, recording the scene. Elias Thorne, CEO of Thorne Industries, a self-made billionaire with a reputation for ruthlessness, was a man who believed in power, in status, in the visible markers of success. He valued efficiency, profit, and nothing else. To him, Sarah was merely an accessory to the art, an invisible cog in a machine designed to serve him. He had just acquired the entire wing for his private collection, a move that solidified his position as a titan of industry and culture. Sarah, on the other hand, was an enigma. Her eyes, beneath the calm exterior, held a depth that belied her unassuming uniform, a quiet strength that Thorne, in his arrogance, entirely missed. He assumed her silence was submission, her measured movements a sign of inferiority. How wrong he was. He had no idea the woman before him was about to dismantle his carefully constructed world, piece by painful piece. This was not just about a piece of lint. It was about the fundamental clash between hubris and hidden worth, between performative power and quiet authority. The clock was ticking, though Thorne, in his magnificent ignorance, was entirely unaware of the impending detonation.
Earlier that morning, the gallery buzzed with a different kind of energy. Sarah, whose full name was Dr. Sarah Jenkins, had arrived long before opening, not in her attendant's uniform, but in a discreet, dark business suit. She walked with purpose, her movements precise, her gaze intelligent as she surveyed the new wing. Her credentials, hidden beneath the carefully pressed fabric of her uniform for now, included a Ph.D. in art history, a master's in international finance, and a track record that had discreetly reshaped global investment landscapes. She was an expert in emerging markets, a specialist in rare art as a commodity, and, most importantly, the lead negotiator for the sovereign wealth fund of a small but incredibly rich African nation, a nation that had been meticulously planning a strategic acquisition in the global art market, a move designed to diversify its portfolio and enhance its cultural standing. Today was the day for the final critical inspection. Her presence as an attendant was a calculated move, a quiet observation to gauge the true dynamics of the gallery, the professionalism of its staff, and the authenticity of its operations, all before the final contract was signed. She wanted an unfiltered view, away from the polished presentations and curated tours. She saw everything, the faint dust in a corner, the slight tilt of a painting that spoke of hurried installation, the weary yet dedicated faces of the actual gallery staff, and then the arrival of Elias Thorne. His entrance was a spectacle. A phalanx of assistants, a publicist buzzing around him like a frantic fly, and the unmistakable scent of expensive cologne, and even more expensive self-importance. Sarah watched him from the shadows, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. She knew Thorne by reputation and had quietly tracked his aggressive acquisition strategy, seeing both its brilliance and its inherent flaws. He was a shark, but a predictable one. She, however, was about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming, the one disguised as prey. Thorne, oblivious to the quiet observer, continued his grand tour, pontificating loudly on brushstrokes and provenances, his voice echoing in the marble halls. He spoke of art as an asset, a conquest, never as a source of beauty or cultural heritage. He dismissed the gallery's long-standing director, an elderly woman named Mrs. Albright, with a wave of his hand, indicating his intent to replace her with someone more modern, more aggressive. Mrs. Albright, her face a mask of dignified despair, simply nodded, a lifetime of dedication dismissed in a single, callous gesture. Sarah felt a flicker of anger, a quiet indignation that threatened to break her cover. She had observed Mrs. Albright for hours, noting her gentle interactions with visitors, her encyclopedic knowledge, her genuine love for the art. It was clear that Mrs. Albright saw the gallery as a sanctuary, while Thorne saw it as a trophy room. The publicist, a young man named Mark, nervously chuckled at Thorne's pronouncements, jotting down notes on a tablet, clearly eager to please. The other attendants, mostly young students or aspiring artists, exchanged knowing glances, their faces reflecting a mixture of fear and quiet contempt. Thorne seemed to revel in their discomfort, drawing power from their subservience. He even made a point of bumping into one of the attendants, a shy young woman without so much as an apology, merely a dismissive grunt. "Watch where you're going," he sneered, his eyes not even meeting hers. The incident with Sarah and the lint, therefore, was not an isolated event. It was the culmination of an hour of casual cruelty, a pattern of behavior designed to assert dominance and underscore his perceived superiority. He saw everyone around him as mere props in his personal drama of acquisition and power. He saw nothing beneath the surface, nothing beyond the uniform, nothing that could possibly challenge his reign. A fatal miscalculation, for the woman he had just publicly humiliated was not just an attendant. She was the final gatekeeper to a deal that would make or break his legacy. The moment stretched, thick with tension. Thorne, pleased with his pronouncement, gestured to an assistant. "Have this wing cleared," he commanded. "I want my legal team in here by 2 p.m. We finalize the deal and sign the papers. I have other, more important things to attend to." He glanced at Sarah again, a sneer twisting his lips. "And make sure she is not here. I prefer staff who understand their place." Sarah's hand, still hovering near the pedestal, slowly, deliberately, lowered. Her eyes, usually soft, now held a glint of steel. She met Thorne's gaze, not with defiance, but with an unnerving calm. The publicist, Mark, sensing a shift, began to record more intently. "Actually, Mr. Thorne," Sarah's voice was clear, composed, carrying an unexpected authority that made several heads turn. "I believe I should be present. I am, after all, a signatory to the agreement." Thorne scoffed, a short, sharp sound. "Don't be ridiculous, girl. You're an attendant. You serve drinks. You dust statues. You don't sign billion-dollar deals." He turned to his head of security. "Escort her out." Before the security guard could move, Sarah reached into the pocket of her uniform, not for a duster, but for a meticulously folded document. She unfolded it with a flourish, revealing a crisp, official letterhead. It was a formal communication from the Sovereign Wealth Fund, explicitly naming Dr. Sarah Jenkins as their lead negotiator. Then, from another pocket, she produced a pristine, embossed business card. It read, "Dr. Sarah Jenkins, Chief Investment Officer, name of Sovereign Wealth Fund." A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Mrs. Albright's eyes widened, a slow smile spreading across her face. Thorne's face, initially a mask of arrogant amusement, began to drain of color. The color of his face changed from a ruddy red to a pale, sickly white. The revelation hung in the air, a hammer blow to Thorne's carefully constructed reality. His jaw went slack. The publicist, Mark, gasped audibly, his phone still recording, now aimed squarely at Thorne's rapidly crumbling facade. "Dr. Jenkins," Thorne stammered, the name a foreign, unwelcome sound on his tongue. What is this charade?" Sarah's gaze was unwavering, devoid of triumph, yet brimming with quiet power. "No charade, Mr. Thorne. Simply due diligence. As the lead negotiator for the Sovereign Wealth Fund that was prepared to purchase this entire wing, and indeed several other properties you were desperate to offload, I believed it essential to observe the operation and its leadership firsthand." The weight of her words settled heavily. The other gallery staff, who had previously shrunk under Thorne's gaze, now stood a little taller, their eyes alight with a mix of shock and dawning satisfaction. The humiliation Thorne had so casually inflicted now bounced back, magnified 100-fold. He had not merely insulted an attendant. He had insulted the very person holding the key to his next major financial triumph. His empire, built on shrewd deals and ruthless acquisition, was about to face its most unexpected challenge. Sarah then reached into another pocket, pulling out a sleek government-issued tablet. With a few deft taps, she brought up a secure video conference. On the screen appeared the stern, unsmiling face of the fund's chairman. "Mr. Thorne," the chairman's voice boomed, carrying a distinct African accent that seemed to fill the room, "Dr. Jenkins has just relayed her observations. We find your conduct unacceptable. Your disregard for personnel, your dismissive attitude towards cultural preservation, and your outright disrespect for our representative have led us to a unanimous decision." Thorne swayed slightly, clutching at a nearby pedestal for support. The billions of dollars, the prestige, the entire deal were slipping through his grasp. The chairman continued, his voice resonating with cool authority. "Effective immediately, the Sovereign Wealth Fund is withdrawing its offer for the entire gallery wing. Furthermore, we are pulling our investment from all current and prospective ventures with Thorne Industries, including the joint venture in the upcoming tech IPO, valued at an estimated $2 billion. We find your company's corporate culture, as demonstrated by your actions today, incompatible with our values." $2 billion. The number hung in the air like a death knell. Thorne's face was now a ghastly shade of green. He had lost not just a prestigious art acquisition, but a crucial investment that was meant to launch his company into a new stratosphere. The very public humiliation he had inflicted upon Sarah was now being repaid with an equally public and far more financially devastating comeuppance. Sarah closed her tablet, her gaze still fixed on Thorne. "I believe," she said, her voice still calm, "that the term you used was worthless staff. I trust you now understand the true cost of such an assessment." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the rapid-fire clicks of Mark, the publicist, who was now recording with a renewed sense of urgency, his career likely ending alongside Thorne's deal, but perhaps finding a new path documenting justice. Mrs. Albright, the elderly director, stepped forward, a triumphant, almost mischievous glint in her eyes. "Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice surprisingly firm, "I believe you were just discussing my replacement. Perhaps you should worry about finding a replacement for your $2 billion. The crowd around them began to murmur, the whispers quickly turning into open condemnation. The phones were still up, broadcasting Thorne's downfall to a rapidly expanding audience. What would you do if your worth was dismissed so casually, only to reveal your true power in the most spectacular way? The aftermath was swift and brutal for Elias Thorne. The video of his public humiliation, complete with Sarah's calm, devastating revelation, and the chairman's pronouncement, went viral within minutes. News outlets picked up the story, not just in financial sections, but in every major news cycle, painting Thorne as a symbol of corporate arrogance and racial insensitivity. His stock plummeted. Investors, spooked by the withdrawal of such a significant sovereign wealth fund, began to pull out in droves. His reputation, once built on an image of invincible success, crumbled under the weight of his own hubris. Within days, Thorne Industries faced a barrage of investigations, not just for financial irregularities, but for widespread allegations of workplace harassment and discriminatory practices, emboldened by the public exposure. Thorne, the man who believed he was untouchable, found his empire rapidly disintegrating around him. Sarah, meanwhile, became an overnight sensation, her quiet dignity and strategic brilliance lauded globally. Her story, a powerful narrative of an underestimated black woman dismantling systemic prejudice, inspired millions. Offers flooded in, prestigious board positions, keynote speaking engagements, honorary degrees. She accepted none of them, choosing instead to focus on her work, continuing to use her immense financial acumen to empower overlooked communities and fund initiatives that promoted genuine cultural exchange, not just acquisition. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, having made its point, used the freed capital to invest in a series of art conservation projects and cultural exchange programs in developing nations, further cementing its commitment to genuine value and respect. The gallery wing, now free from Thorne's grasping hands, found a new patron, an anonymous donor, moved by Mrs. Albright's dedication and Sarah's story, provided the funds necessary to acquire the entire collection, ensuring its public access and ongoing preservation. Mrs. Albright, far from being replaced, was celebrated, her quiet strength a stark contrast to Thorne's bluster. She oversaw a new era for the gallery, one focused on community engagement and genuine appreciation for art rather than mere monetary value. The young publicist, Mark, having bravely kept his phone recording the entire spectacle, leveraged his footage into a new career as an investigative journalist, focusing on corporate accountability. He had witnessed firsthand the destructive power of unchecked arrogance and the redemptive force of quiet integrity. The other gallery attendants, no longer trembling under Thorne's shadow, found their voices, sharing their own experiences of discrimination and fostering a newfound sense of solidarity. The air in the gallery, once heavy with the scent of ambition and power, now carried the faint, sweet perfume of justice. It was a tangible shift, a transformation that rippled outward, proving that true wealth lies not in what one owns, but in how one treats others. What lessons do you think Elias Thorne truly learned that day? And what can we, as a society, learn from Sarah's quiet yet profound act of vindication? In the quiet aftermath, months later, Sarah found herself back in the gallery, not in uniform but as an honored guest. She walked the halls, the sunlight streaming through the skylights, illuminating the art in a new, softer light. Mrs. Albright greeted her with a warm embrace, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. The gallery was thriving, filled with diverse visitors, children on school trips, and students sketching in notebooks. It had become a true public institution, a vibrant hub of culture and learning, exactly what Mrs. Albright had always envisioned. Thorne Industries, stripped of its most valuable assets and facing a barrage of lawsuits, eventually filed for bankruptcy. Elias Thorne, once a fixture on Forbes's richest lists, became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that even the most powerful can fall when their moral compass is broken. He faded from the public eye, his name synonymous with ruin. Sarah, however, continued her quiet ascent. Her influence grew, not through aggressive posturing, but through strategic, empathetic investment that prioritized sustainable growth and social good. She proved that true power was not about domination, but about upliftment, not about humiliation, but about empowering others. She had shown the world that worth was not defined by a uniform or by wealth, but by character, by integrity, and by the courage to stand up against injustice. Her story became a legend, whispered in boardrooms and classrooms alike. The black woman who dared to stand her ground, who silently watched, and who, with $2 billion, taught a billionaire the true meaning of worthless. What does true worth mean to you? Think about it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of justice served, real-life tales where the underdog rises and where hidden power ultimately triumphs. This is not just entertainment. These are the stories that remind us that worth is intrinsic, not ascribed. The transformation was complete, not just for the individuals involved, but for the wider understanding of power dynamics in the corporate world. Sarah's actions reverberated through the investment community, forcing many to reevaluate their due diligence processes to include ethical and social governance factors. No longer could a company rely solely on financial projections. The character of its leadership, the treatment of its employees, and its broader societal impact became crucial considerations for major investors. This was Sarah's lasting legacy, not just bringing down a corrupt billionaire, but subtly, powerfully, shifting the paradigm of global finance. She continued her work, traveling the world, seeking out projects that fostered genuine economic development and cultural preservation. Her quiet presence at international conferences, her incisive questions, and her unwavering commitment to ethical investment made her a formidable force. She became a mentor to countless young professionals, particularly women and minorities, who saw in her a beacon of what was possible when intelligence and integrity aligned. The narrative of the worthless staff became a rallying cry, a reminder that the people often dismissed as insignificant possess untold potential and power. The incident at the gallery was not just a dramatic clash of personalities. It was a microcosm of a larger societal struggle against ingrained prejudice and systemic arrogance. Sarah's victory was a victory for all who had ever been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed. It was a testament to the fact that true power is not loud or flashy, but quiet, resolute, and ultimately undeniable. Her journey continued, a testament to the enduring truth that those who carry themselves with dignity and possess genuine merit will, in the end, always rise.